Singing in the Rain is a story about sound, but not just any sound. Singing in the Rain is about Don Lockwood, a movie star working for the studio system in Old Hollywood. After the debut of the jazz singer, the studio wants Don to star in a talking picture, The Dancing Cavalier, with his regular co-star Lena Lamont. But when Lena's voice doesn't fit the part,
I'm so downhearted, Teresa. My father has me betrothed to the Baron de Lansfield, and I can't stand him.
Dawn and the studio executives decide to secretly replace her voice with Kathy Selden's, the young dancer Dawn is interested in. When Dawn and Lena are first introduced, we get a short montage of Dawn's life as he tells it. He first met Lena on the set of a cowboy picture when he filled in the role for the villain. She's unimpressed with him. Later on the set of a Civil War picture, he approaches her and tries to flirt. She rejects/ignores his advances. But when the studio head tells Lena that Dawn will actually be starring in another picture with her in the future, she becomes more interested. Dawn pretends he wasn't interested in the first place, and she kicks him in the butt. After the two rise into stardom, fan magazines and tabloids hint at a possible love affair. This is actually a point of contention in the film. Lena believes that she and Dawn are engaged, which Dawn vehemently denies.
Johnny, how can you let him talk to me like that? Your fiancé.
My Lena, you've been reading those fan magazines again. Now, look, Lena, you shouldn't believe all that banana oil that Dora Bailey and the columnists dish out. Now, try to get this straight. There is nothing between us. There has never been anything between us. Just air.
Oh, Donnie, you don't mean that.
As Dawn desperately looks for a way out of the publicity stunt, he finds it in Kathy after jumping into her car and harassing her.
There may be blondes and...
Let's talk about Kathy. The first interaction Dawn has with her is one of fear, screaming and freaking out. She calls a policeman over. The cop tells her that she should feel lucky there's a celebrity in her car, and completely dismisses her.
Lady.
Officer! Officer! This man has jumped right into my car and I didn't
That's
even know.
Don Lockwood.
Don Lockwood?
How are you, Mr. Lockwood? Out for a joyride?
Just a lift, officer. My car broke down. I got surrounded by...
Oh, you're a lucky little lady. Anything wrong?
Why no?
No, I should think not. Well, good night.
Kathy, a genuinely kind person, offers to drive him home and even ends up sympathizing with him when he tells her about his rabid fans. Lockwood, of course, takes this as an opportunity to put his arm around her, getting way too close and whining about how he's horribly treated by fans. Kathy is clearly uncomfortable with this and tries to get him to back off by dismissing him and silent movie actors as a whole.
How sorry I am about taking you for a criminal before, but it was understandable under the circumstances.
Sure.
I knew I'd seen you.
Which of my pictures have you seen?
I don't remember. I saw one once.
You saw one once.
Yes, I think you were dueling, and there was a girl, Lena Lamont. No, I don't go to the movies much. If you've seen one, you've seen them all.
Oh, thank you.
This moment kind of shows that Kathy knows how to stand up for herself when she's uncomfortable, albeit in a more subtle way than directly telling him off. Even though later we find out she's actually a fan, it's pretty clear that Dawn is just a scumbag actor looking for sex, and she knows that. Insulted, Dawn attempts to turn tables on Kathy and insults her profession, even though they practically do the same thing. He then leers over her.
You're not flesh and blood.
Oh, no.
Stop!
I want to punch this man in the face. Dawn humiliates himself further by being a gigantic asshole while trying to save face after being rejected. A pattern we see many times in this movie, actually.
I must tear myself from your side.
First time these two meet ends with Lena being caked in the face. The cake was aimed at Don, who spent his night harassing Kathy on the job, the asshole celebrity who thinks he can have any girl anytime. He repeats the same pattern with Kathy that he attempted with Lena. Attempt contact with a woman, get rejected, relieve anger through harassment, mocking, or belittling her, and generally overloading her with attention until she gives in. Leading up to this, neither of these two have a reason to like Don Lockwood. He's conceited, handsy, entitled, and mopey. Lena and Kathy, by rights, should be allied together. They're both actors, both women in the field, and both mistreated by Dawn. So, when this moment comes...
Who's this dame anyway?
Oh, someone lofty and far above us all. She couldn't learn anything from the movies. She's an actress on the legitimate stage.
Here's one thing I've learned from the movies.
Lena, she was aiming at me!
Lena, you never look lovelier.
Lena, it was just a little accident.
Sure, it happens to me 5 or 6 times a day.
Where is she?
Donnie!
It's just disappointing. It feels mean. This moment sets up the relationship, or non-existent one, that Kathy and Lena have throughout the movie. One of unnecessary, even accidental, mutual dislike. From the start of the film, it's clear that Lena, star that she is not respected in her field by her male colleagues. Not only do they directly imply to her that they think she's too stupid to talk for herself, they also take away her agency as an established actor, belittling her accomplishments because of her voice, mannerisms, and gender.
Yeah, Lena, you look pretty good for a girl.
For heaven's sake, what's the big idea? Can't a girl get a word in edgewise? After all, they're my public, too.
Lena, the publicity department, Rod here, thought it would be much better if Don made all the speeches for the team.
Why?
Lena, you're a beautiful woman. Audiences think you've got a voice to match. The studio's got to keep their stars from looking ridiculous at any cost.
No one's got that much money.
What's wrong with the way I talk? What's the big idea? Am I dumb or something?
No.
Her grammar, intelligence, and even her gender are policed by men. After the cake incident, Lena gets Kathy fired.
Well, I'm the one who got the whipped cream and a kisser.
Yes, but you didn't lose your job, and she did.
Darn tootin' she did. I arranged it.
What?
When Lena learns of the plot to replace her voice with Kathy's, she threatens to sue the studio and plans to secretly continue to use Kathy's voice as her own.
I was responsible for every word printed about me. If I don't like it, I can sue.
When the studio head finds out, he asks,
If she's done such a grand job doubling for my voice, don't you think she ought to go on doing just that? And nothing else.
Lena, you're out of your mind.
After all, I'm still more important to the studio than she is.
Lena, I wouldn't do that to her in a million years. Why, you'd be taking her career away from her. People just don't do things like that.
which is funny because that's exactly what he and the rest of the studio were trying to do to Lena. Lena threatening to sue while still wanting to use Kathy's voice is interesting. She's acknowledging that Kathy has the talent, but needs to keep her behind the curtain. Almost like what Dawn and the other men tried to do with her, using her talent, but not giving her a personal agency. It's almost like when women are pit up against each other in a male-dominated workplace, they start to mimic and even adapt to misogyny in order to survive.
This is dumb.
Finally, at the end of the movie, when The Dancing Cavalier premieres to much fanfare, Dawn and the studio head make Kathy sing behind the curtain so they can humiliate Lena by revealing her to be a fake. Kathy does not want to sing, but is required to do so under studio orders. Dawn even yells at her.
I'll be out in front doing, like in the picture.
That's right.
What?
You gotta do it, Kathy. This thing is too big.
Of course she's got to do it. She's got a 5-year contract with me. Get over to that microphone, Selden.
You heard of Kathy, now do it.
I'll do it, Don. I'll do it, but I never want to see you again, on or off the screen.
Now, come on, Lena.
After they reveal who's behind the curtain, Lena runs off stage and doesn't return. Kathy runs away in tears, although Dawn swiftly brings her back with another Dawn Lockwood ego moment, romantic song, to close out the movie. And then the movie just ends. Frankly, nothing. I think this movie came out exactly as intended. Is the treatment of Lena meant to be outright mean-spirited, and are we, the audience, supposed to laugh at her expense? Yes. Does Kathy represent the ideal feminine figure of classic Hollywood? Meek, emotional, agreeable, and easily swayed by charm or manipulation? Yes. Does Lena Lamont's femininity conform to this ideal? No. Lena is loud and proud of who she is. I find her more relatable because she fights back. And although she may be naive or even selfish like Dawn, I still like her more. I have reason to root for her because the film establishes early on that the reason she's treated so horribly by the ensemble of men that surround her is because of her voice. It's her defining characteristic, and it's treated like the elephant in the room. She's not the underdog by any means, but she definitely deserves better. Kathy is naive, but in a more submissive way. She's respectable in her femininity because she's quiet. She doesn't use slang, she's unsure of herself, and she does what she's told. She may have some moments that give her more character, but over the course of the film, she's whittled down to just a basic love interest, the shape of a woman. I feel like her most memorable moment is when she's first introduced. The argument with Dawn in the car. That's where she feels her strongest, denying Dawn the satisfaction of preying on her by diminishing his ego. The cake scene is the last time we see her before she and Dawn get together. She has every reason in the world to be mad at him, and now she completely goes along with whatever he wants. In many ways, Kathy and Lena mirror each other, whether it's problems with how men treat them or problems in their careers. Yet it's their reactions that determine their value in the eyes of men. I would even go as far as to say that the men of this movie don't view Lena as a woman, or at least not a woman in the same way Kathy is. The rest of this is kind of off the script, but that was a thought that occurred to me many times while watching this, is that Lena she's not stereotypically feminine because she's louder, because she's more, I don't know if egregious is the right word, but she's definitely more spunky, and she knows what she wants, she knows what she's doing. And I feel like, in a weird way, she almost has that sort of drag queen-like quality of femininity. And that she's very performative with her femininity, and I think that she means to be very performative. One scene, even at the premiere of The Dueling Cavalier, the first version of The Dancing Cavalier, when they come out of the theater and they're just waiting and they're hearing all the audience's reactions like, oh, that was a horrible movie, blah, blah, blah. Lena doesn't really care that much. She honestly is very sure of herself, and she says, I liked it.
This is the worst picture ever made.
I liked it.
And honestly, I feel like there's sort of this kind of like blissful ignorance to her character, but there is also this sense of like, I feel like she knows what's happening, and she knows that people don't love the movie, but she's happy with it. Like, there's kind of something about her happy-go-luckiness that I really appreciate about her character, and I just wish that the movie could have been kinder to her, because she doesn't deserve all that horrible treatment. I just wish that maybe she was, like, in the movie more, or just more well-written. It's honestly very disappointing, and same thing with Kathy. At the end of the day, Singing in the Rain is kind of a missed opportunity for me. I used to love this movie. I watched it all the time as a kid, and I loved the music, I loved the dancing, I loved the color of the film. Like, it's a beautiful film. It's just, rewatching it as an adult, I don't like the way that the women are written. I think that it's really shitty. And honestly, a lot of the time, they're kind of the butt of the joke. Like, especially with Lena. So, in conclusion, Lena Lamont did nothing wrong. Dawn Lockwood is the asshole.